Another Mock Draft Monday here on the channel. Let's go ahead and jump right into this 2026 NFL Mock Draft. This is not exactly a themed mock draft, but there are some fun player to team fits based on not only like ability and potential scheme fit, but also location. You'll see what I mean when the time comes. But we're going to kick things off at number 1. I don't think that Spencer Rattler has played all that bad for the Saints. However, them benching him and going to Tyler Shuck, I think, kind of tells you what they think about him. And if you're picking at number 1 overall, you're probably not going to punt on potentially taking your franchise quarterback. And I think Fernando Mendoza has a really good argument to be the best one in the draft. He's a great player, very heavy RPO offense at Indiana, as I keep saying. So it's going to be maybe a little bit of an adjustment for Mendoza moving into the NFL, but I think teaming up with Kellen Moore, this is a match made in heaven. You have a really intelligent quarterback prospect in Fernando Mendoza. You've seen, hopefully some of the mock drafts on the channel where I've talked about him being recruited to Yale to play football, and then of course ending up at Cal, Berkeley. He's a really, really smart guy. And I think teaming up with Kellen Moore, this is a match made in heaven. I think Mendoza is going to be able to understand concepts quickly and make that transition fairly smoothly as the Saints hopefully find their franchise QB. At number 2, we have the Tennessee Titans. This video is sponsored by Underdog. It's the best place to play daily fantasy sports. These are my picks for Monday Night Football, going with a little bit of a conservative approach here, taking some lower projections, but I've got Jake Ferguson higher 3.5 catches, Trey McBride higher 6.5, and Marvin Harrison Jr. higher 49.5 receiving yards. The receivers of Arizona have great matchups tonight. There's no worse pass defense in the league than the Dallas Cowboys, really. And Jake Ferguson, I think they look to get going after an abysmal last week. You know what? I'm canceling it. I'm going 4.5 on Jake Ferguson. Underdog has so many fun promos and specials running all the time. We can apply a 40% profit boost and take whatever we were making up 40% if we win. So make sure to use code BENGAL on Underdog. Take advantage of these great daily specials and promos they have running all the time. For Monday Night Football tonight, there is a Dak Prescott gimme pick for new customers. Remember to use code BENGAL when you sign up for Underdog. Deposit with Underdog. Use code BENGAL, and thank you to Underdog for sponsoring this video. Of course, the trade deadline could end up changing what some of these picks end up being. We just don't know yet. It's tomorrow. I should have a video recapping every big trade deadline trade, from Jalen Phillips going to the Eagles today, Michael Carter, the slot corner, joining the Eagles as well, Keon White and Kyle Duggar being traded from New England. All of those should be in a video tomorrow or Wednesday, probably Wednesday. But Titans at number 2. For the time being, I'm going to have them selecting Arvell Reese. I think he's got a really good case to be the first non-QB off the board. I think he might just be the best player in the draft. And we kind of saw a little bit in week 1 against Texas. Who is this Arvell Reese guy? Because he wasn't much of an impact player a year ago, but had the physical tools, and he's really burst out onto the scene in 2025. He has been unstoppable, unblockable. How does a linebacker go at number 2 overall? Well, he's not just a linebacker. This guy's playing off the edge pretty consistently for Ohio State, and his play strength is just unbelievable. I think he can be a really fun chess piece for any defense, but you've also got a really strong argument to just, hey, play this guy off the edge full time and have a game wrecker as a pass rusher. I think Arvell Reese has that type of potential. He is a monster. As we get to the Jets at number 3, I'm going Ty Simpson. It's really tough to find any player in college football who's had as good of a season as he has. Week 1 loss to Florida State, whatever. After that, he has been exceptional. He's got like 20 touchdowns to 1 interception, if you care about touchdown-interception ratio. Alabama has looked like a different team after that Week 1 game. Ty Simpson can make every throw, it would appear, and especially when Alabama needs him to make a throw. 3rd and long. Go make a play. Ty Simpson's able to do that. He's been awesome. And I think going to the Jets is a great, great fit because you look at his strengths as a player, and it's processing, it's getting the football out on time and on target. He doesn't dilly-dally. He doesn't hold the ball. And the current Jets quarterback has a really bad habit of holding the ball, not getting rid of it. Ty Simpson, end of his drop, ball's out. The ball's out, and that's what you need. And the offensive line for the Jets looks pretty good for the future. It really does. If you're able to keep Breece Hall, who knows if he gets traded, you've got a pretty good running back in there, and that makes the quarterback's job a little bit easier. I would like to see them add more at receiver, but you have a bona fide wide receiver one in Garrett Wilson. I think this is actually a really good landing spot for a young quarterback. I think this would be a good fit for Ty Simpson and, of course, the Jets. At number 4, have the Miami Dolphins. What if they don't go QB? I think it's absolutely a potential that they consider quarterback. But what if they keep Ruben Bain in Miami? The Miami edge rusher stays in the same city and just changes jerseys. Plays for the Miami Dolphins. I think they could use help off the edge. But this is really one of those teams that could just use a lot of help everywhere. They trade Jalen Phillips today to the Eagles very early this morning. And I think edge was kind of a need already, considering his contract situation, considering the age and health of Bradley Chubb. Chop Robinson, I think, could be quite good in the future. We'll see. It's a question mark right now. But I think you just go Ruben Bain, probably the best player available. There's at least a conversation with that. You know, considering their needs. Like, you're not going to go Jeremiah Love here at 4 if you're the Dolphins, even though there's a case that Jeremiah Love is the best player in the draft. At number 5, had the New York Giants. I think the board has actually fallen okay for the Giants. You, for once, don't need a quarterback. Jackson Dart is a dog. I did not think Jackson Dart would be nearly this good, especially not this quickly. I thought he was a bit of a project. He's been awesome. It feels so good to have confidence in your quarterback going forward. It's something I have not had for a long time as a Giants fan. And Jackson Dart is fun, exciting, talented. He needs more help. You look on the offensive line, the interior, I think, is a bit of a problem. Even though they've been playing a little bit better of late, it's a problem. I don't care about John Michael Schmitz, having a good game. He's a problem. You need an upgrade at center. You're not taking one here. You need an upgrade at one of the other guard spots. I think you're sticking with John Runyon, but, there's not one worth taking here. Even at tackle, Jermaine Illuminor is a free agent. Andrew Thomas is often hurt. Tackle's a need. It really is. Even though Illuminor's played great, you can't guarantee an extension, even if it's a probability, or, it's a probable that it could happen or that will happen. But there's not really a tackle worth taking here. This is not a very good tackle class. You need corner. There's not really one worth taking here at number 5. So I think you pivot towards wide receiver. And this receiver class is actually starting to look pretty good because Jordan Tyson, barring health concerns, is a really, really good player. Mekhi Lemon, there are some questions about his size and speed, and maybe his ability to really get open at, a high level, but, you could say that about Emeka Ibuka. Is this guy only going to be a slot player? It may not matter. He might just be able to produce regardless of that. I love Mekhi Lemon. And then Carnell Tate has taken his path from, quite a good college player to elite college player from last year to this year. He is a great route runner. He's got very good size and speed. I think he has a legitimate argument to be the first receiver off the board, and that's what we're going to do today. Get Carnell Tate off the board at number 5. The Giants absolutely need help at receiver. Darius Slayton is not very good. I'm sorry. He's an outside receiver, so that's nice. But he's really a 4th receiver on a team, and he's getting paid like he's much better than that. It kind of just is what it is. Malik Neighbors, when healthy, is an elite player, but he's not healthy right now. So who knows what he's going to be when he comes back. And then Wan'Dale Robinson, you have questions about how long he's going to be a Giant, potentially, if there's no extension. But he's a slot-only player. I think you need a legitimate wide receiver number 2. And I think you got some really good options at the top of this draft with Tate, with Jordan Tyson, and then maybe even Mekhi Lemon as well, who I think is so talented. Browns at number 6. I think it's a QB. Dante Moore was born in Cleveland before moving to Detroit. He goes back to Cleveland here in some capacity to play quarterback for the Browns. We've seen enough Dylan Gabriel, really, not even just with the Browns so far, but at Oregon, to know this is not the guy. He's a 25-year-old rookie with no arm talent, really. I mean, it's just disastrous. If you have a top quarterback on the board, it may be time to pull the trigger on one and take one here at number 6. Dante Moore could be that quarterback of the future. Raiders at number 7. Well, the Clemson interior defensive line signing of Christian Wilkins wasn't really all that the Raiders wanted it to be, but maybe Peter Woods will be. You need a quarterback so badly. Which quarterback are you going to take? Lenore Sellers is really so much better than it appears. If you're actually watching, the offensive line is terrible. The receivers are not good. The situation really could not be worse. His draft stock is really in the tank right now. I still think there's so much potential here, and he's not inaccurate. He's very underrated as a player. I think what would be best for him is probably to head back to school and transfer out of South Carolina, and I think he could be a lot more successful. Miami feels like the perfect spot, and that just might be what Miami does. Just pay a new quarterback every year out of the portal, and it may be a pretty good way to find success. I mean, you have Malachi Toney in there that looks like a future star at receiver for the Hurricanes. But anyway, this is a lot of speculation. All this to say, I don't know if Lenore Sellers will end up declaring. I should have him in the first round over maybe a Brendan Sorsby, who I am going to put in the first round again. But yeah, I don't know that you're taking Lenore Sellers at 7 right now. Peter Woods is one of the best players in the draft. He hasn't been, as good this year as he was last year, but starting to play a little bit better. Clemson's season is just in the tank as well. It's awful. Peter Woods is a really, really good player, and it just feels like a good fit here for the Raiders as they take another shot at a Clemson interior defensive lineman. Obviously didn't draft Wilkins, got him in free agency, but another connection there, and we're going to make another one. How about the Arizona Cardinals keeping Jordan Tyson in the state of Arizona? Not really too far of a trip here for Jordan Tyson. And I just think you look at the board here, what do the Cardinals need? Well, offensive line's a need, but if you think Jordan Tyson is so much more valuable here than a Spencer Fano or Francis Mauigoa, I think you pull the trigger. Tyson, I think, has the potential to be the first receiver off the board. Here he goes to number 8, and it feels like a really good fit. I don't know what Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be. I think he is a fine player. You're hoping he ends up being more than that. Obviously, it's been a little disappointing. Michael Wilson is fairly good when healthy, but I'm not sure he is a wide receiver too. And what else really is there? I think wide receiver is a need. Jordan Tyson could be the answer as we move to the Bengals. And it's another fun fit. Keeping Caleb Downs in the state of Ohio. I'm to the point with this draft class where I don't know how many truly first-round caliber players there are. Like players with true first-round grades. In a draft, there's typically, maybe about 15 to 20, something like that. And yes, I recognize there are typically 32 first-round picks, but that doesn't mean that they all will have first-round grades, right? Caleb Downs is one of those that truly has a first-round grade. He's one of the maybe few blue-chip players in this draft. And I think he could end up going top 10. Is he going to end up going top 5 or top 2 like you saw a lot of people mock earlier in the year? I don't really think so. You just don't see safeties go top 5. You just don't see it. It's happened a couple times. I think literally 2 times since like 2000 with Sean Taylor and Eric Berry. There have been some guys that are close, like Mark Barron, I think was maybe number 6. Jamal Adams, I think, might have been number 6 as well, or number 7. But I don't know that you're going to get those guys in the top 5. It's just not a premium position by NFL standards. Even if a safety or slot or box player could be quite valuable, I think the NFL is kind of undervaluing some of those guys a little bit. But Caleb Downs is such a good player. So instinctive, so smart. I don't know that he's going to play a lot of single high in the NFL, but You know, if this is your Caleb, or not Caleb, if this is your Kyle Hamilton, would you take him at 9 if you're the Bengals? I think you would. So Caleb Downs here goes to the Bengals, stays in state. They really, really need help all over their defense. I know you need to protect Joe Burrow, but Downs may be just best player available here that isn't a running back. As we get to the Commanders at number 10, going Mansour Delane. He's been the best corner of the draft-eligible cornerbacks in college football this year. I still obviously have talked a lot about Leonard Moore at Notre Dame. I think he's probably the best corner in college football. But Delane is a stud, transfer from Virginia Tech. He's been great for the Tigers this season. I think he's got a chance to be a top 10 pick. You look at the Commanders, and I mean, their secondary is not very good. This is typically an edge rusher for me, at least has been so far in the 2025 mock or 2026 NFL mock drafts. But you know, you look at the game against Seattle last night, and corner was already kind of a need. Trey Amos is banged up. Marshawn Lattimore just tore his ACL, I believe, and he was already kind of toward the tail end of his career anyway. So I think, you know, you're looking to upgrade on the boundary, and Delane could just fill that role, fit the bill there. As we move up the road here to Baltimore to get the Baltimore Ravens off the board. And we're going to go with Keldrick Falk from Auburn. You could consider this guy as an interior defensive lineman. He's, 280, 290 in that range. And even though the pass rush, is not at an elite level, he's a very good run defender. Was especially so in 2024. Maybe lost a little bit of weight to try to play off the edge at an elite level for a pass rusher in 2025. We haven't exactly seen that, but I think this guy's best role might be as somewhere from 3 to 5 tech as an elite run defender that offers some pretty good pass rush ability. I don't know that he's a true edge rusher, but we'll see what happens, because you could have said that about Shamar Stewart, and then he loses all this weight. He's drafted as an edge, and there are a lot of guys kind of like that lately. We'll see what happens with Falk, but he's a really good player. So I think he could go certainly top 15, but maybe even top 10, maybe even top 5, depending on the way the top 5 ends up looking with what teams are picking where, of course. At number 12, we have the LA Rams. It's going to be the first tackle off the board. Right tackle has been a need for a while now, looking to replace Rob Havenstein long-term. Spencer Fano, really good athlete, and it would be a plug-and-play right tackle. The tape has not been as good, and I've really only seen a couple games in 2025. But I remember being ecstatic with what I saw on film in 2024. He just really hasn't looked to be quite the same player, but he still has been good, just not elite. Still going top 12 here. That's pretty good here for the Rams that get their right tackle of the future. It's going to be back-to-back offensive linemen. The Texans really need help on the offensive line. You got to protect C.J. Stroud. And Francis Mauigoa feels like an awesome fit because, yeah, he's played right tackle at a high level for Miami. A lot of people see him as a guard at the next level, and that's also a huge need for the Texans. Their O-line is a mess. I think Francis Mauigoa helps you potentially fill a couple of different roles, whether or not you want to try him at right tackle before moving him inside, do like the Titus Howard thing. But Mauigoa does profile as a guard, so it's not like especially weird. But I'd give him a chance at right tackle. I think it's kind of like the Will Campbell thing where, try him on the outside until he can't do it. And Will Campbell's been a very good left tackle for the Patriots this year. Struggled against Myles Garrett because it's Myles Garrett, but he's been pretty good other than that. Cowboys at number 14. This is where I might get a little bit of pushback. The Cowboys have made a trade for an unknown player. We don't really know. Jerry Jones just said, "Hey, we traded for somebody. It was Michael Parsons." No, I don't know. He won't say who it is. Maybe going through medicals. Maybe it's not through the league yet. But apparently there is a trade in place for likely a defensive player. We don't know yet. But the Cowboys have multiple first-round picks in this draft. Could they not just take arguably the best player in the draft at 14? I know running back is not immediately one of the biggest needs here for Dallas. Javonte Williams is a free agent after this year. It's only a one-year deal. I don't think Jaden Blue stops you from drafting Jeremiah Love, even though horns up, hook him, whatever. Jeremiah Love has a really strong case to be the best overall player in this draft. I think there's a really good chance he ends up going top 10. He's here at number 14 to a team that really could benefit from a superstar running back and has multiple first-round picks this year and has shown you that they'll take a running back even higher than this somewhat recently. It feels like something that could happen here for Jerry Jones and Jeremiah Love. Vikings at 15. Going Jermod McCoy. It seems a bit early for Jermod McCoy because he has not played at all in 2025, coming back from a torn ACL. He was so good in 2024 that we still have him elevated. I just don't know what we're going to get with him. So I think even though there's a chance he goes in the first half of the first round, there's a chance he doesn't go in the first round at all. The tape in 2024 was awesome. During summer scouting, I'm like, this guy is unreal. Unreal. Could have been a top 5 player in the draft. The injury muddies the waters there. But for a team that I think could benefit from an outside corner, Jermod McCoy feels like an awesome fit. You worry about what you're going to get. That's the holdup. Because if he's the player he was in 2024, this is a top 5 player in the draft. Panthers at 16, going back-to-back corners. He's a little bit undersized, but he's a dog. Avion Terrell, brother of A.J. Terrell, only about 5'11", maybe even less than that, 180. He's a little small, but I think he's got the chops to play on the outside, even if he may end up finding a home in the nickel. J.C. Horn has been spectacular. You need more. And Avion Terrell, I think, makes sense here for Carolina. There are absolutely some other directions they could choose to go, but Terrell just kind of seemed like a good fit. Chiefs at 17, I'm going Kenyon Sadiq. I think he's probably a top 10 player in this draft. Travis Kelce could very, very easily retire after 2025, and then I'm not sure what you have. Like, I do know, but, you have Noah Gray. Is that stopping you from taking Kenyon Sadiq? You don't really know what you have with Jared Wiley. Is that stopping you from taking Kenyon Sadiq? I don't think it is. Again, could be a top 10 player in this draft. He can really, really block. He, I think, could be such a versatile player. We know how Andy Reid and the Chiefs like to utilize their tight ends, shovel passes and screens and jet sweeps to the freaking tight end if they could. And Kenyon Sadiq, I think, has the capability of doing those things. He's athletic. I don't care about the PFF grade. Sadiq is a stud player. And again, I think a top 10 player probably in this class. It's worth the draft pick. Jeremiah Love is not on the board. I don't know that there's a pass rusher worth taking here at 17. Maybe you consider TJ Parker, but Spags typically prefers the edge rushers to be a little bit bigger, 270 plus. I don't know if you're taking one of these edge rushers. I think interior defensive line is maybe more of a good shout. Amori Washington, I think, could very easily go in round 1. Caden McDonald could end up in round 1 very, very easily. I couldn't really get the defensive tackles off the board in this mock, although I wanted to. It just really didn't happen. Because at 18, I'm going David Bailey to the Bears. I think they could improve their pass rush off the edge very easily. Bailey, there are questions about him against the run. He's small compared to, a lot of these top edge rushers. He's not 6'4", 6'5", 260, 270. He's maybe 250. But when you have his ability to get after the quarterback the way he does, this is a player that I think ends up being a first-round pick despite the size. And again, I'm just not even sure he's 6'3", 250. But he is an elite pass rusher. That's where the Bears could certainly benefit on defense. Browns at 19. I do this every mock draft, but Mekhi Lemon is always available. And I think he could absolutely go higher than this. But this is kind of in that JSN range of, hey, where does a slightly undersized receiver with somewhat questionable ability to play on the outside? Obviously, we're seeing JSN at an elite level in the NFL right now. Not saying Mekhi Lemon can be Jackson Smith and Jigba, but that's typically where the NFL has shown that they'll take a player like this, who has maybe not top-tier speed and all these different things, but at the end of the day, when you have the ability to just play football, I hate to boil it down to that. The way, when Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you're going to hear that comp probably a lot, and Jackson Smith and Jigba do, and Mekhi Lemon, I think, is in that same, he's cut from the same cloth, even if he's not the same caliber. I think Mekhi Lemon is fantastic. He could go earlier than this, but it's tough to take a team like the Browns, who I think need help at receiver, and pass on Mekhi Lemon. It's Mekhi Lemon all day for me. At number 20, I have the Steelers taking a quarterback every time. I'm going to change it up, even though I recognize quarterback is an incredibly huge need for the Steelers. This goes out to all you Will Howard fans. I'm going to go receiver today, and I'm going with Chris Bell. I think he'd be a really fun fit in Pittsburgh. He's great after the catch. He's kind of built like a big running back. He's like 6'2", 220, and he has the ability to get downfield as well. I think he's an awesome player. I think this is probably about where he goes in the draft. I don't know that he ends up near the top 10, but somewhere in the teens, into the 20s, I think is probably the sweet spot for Chris Bell. I think he's got a case to be wide receiver 2 or 3 in this draft. And it's looking to be a fairly strong receiver class. Chris Bell is fantastic. Love him as a prospect. And it's not a straight comp, but in the way you would use him, this is like your Deebo Samuel. But I think Chris Bell's got, more ability to get down the field, whereas Deebo's probably a little bit better as like a true running back at wide receiver, even though he's not doing all the same things like he was in San Francisco. Detroit at 21. Going to go TJ Parker. I think you could look to upgrade the edge, and Parker just fits the bill. Hasn't been quite as good in 2025 as he was in 2024, just ravaging mid-tier ACC offensive tackles. But I just think part of that could be how bad Clemson is, and I'm not saying he's not contributing to that at all. Still probably a first-round caliber player. Lions get him at 21. Chargers at 22. Got to keep building in the trenches if you're the Chargers. We know that's what they like to do. Vega Ioane from Penn State has a really good case to be the best guard in this class. I know Corey Kinnan, whose opinion I respect a lot. You can check him out on Twitter and the Daft on Draft podcast. I know they do that with James Foster on YouTube. I know he's very high on Chase Besantis, especially as a pass protector. And I think maybe he's got a case to be a first-round pick. But Vega Ioane, to me, has been the best guard in college football this year. I got him as a first-round pick. The Chargers desperately need an upgraded guard. I mean, right guard feels like the obvious one. I mean, you look at Zion Johnson is unfortunately not a very good player, or hasn't been. Who knows if he turns the corner? And the Chargers keep getting ravaged by injuries on the O-line. I'm sure Justin Herbert's going to get blamed when the Chargers somehow are not able to win multiple playoff games, despite not having a left or right tackle, or really anything on the offensive line. But yeah, it's Justin Herbert's fault as a choker, I guess. 49ers at 23. Gonna go Caden Proctor. He's very up and down week to week. You just don't exactly know what you're going to get with Caden Proctor, but he's gigantic. He's a developmental type player here for the 49ers. And if he can end up being your left tackle of the future beyond Trent Williams and learn from Trent Williams, his size and athleticism tells you that he can end up being one of the really elite players in the league. It's just, I mean, for a guy this big, how can he not anchor? It's kind of mind-blowing. So he's got to get better with technique and using his size. But there's potential here as we get to the Cowboys' second pick of the first round. This is via Green Bay. I'm going to go Cassius Howell, keep him in state out of Texas A&M. Here's the problem with Cassius Howell, because he's been great this year. Elite pass rusher. He is tiny. And I know 6'2", 248 tiny. I'm maybe a little bit over 6'2" and less than 200 pounds, and here I am calling this tiny. He's got like 31 or sub 31 inch arms. You just don't see a lot of those guys get drafted in the first round. But I think his speed and quickness is so elite off the edge that it may not matter as much. Because if you can't get hands on him, the arm length doesn't really matter as much. I don't know that Cassius Howell is going to be trying to bull rush tackles, into the quarterback. His game is to set up the tackle and win with a counter move, potentially. I mean, his ghost move, really, I would say popularized recently by Brian Burns, where you flash hands and then pull away and bend through the corner. It's elite. But also with Cassius Howell, something I've noticed is his ability to set up the tackle with an outside rush, only to go back inside. That is also elite. And his quickness is just too much on the interior. I think he could easily end up being a first-round player despite maybe subpar measurables. I think he's going to test really well athletically. There could be a first-round player with Cassius Howell. And we're searching for these great edge rushers in this class. Howell's got a potential first-round pick in his future. At number 25, we have the Buffalo Bills. I go Sonny Styles here a lot, but it just feels like too good of a fit. I think he's a first-round caliber player. He's got unreal size and athleticism, and I think he's a fun fit in Buffalo's defense. Seattle at 26, I'm going Will Lee. The PFF grade has not been very kind to him, but I think he's just such a great fit for this defense. I think Seattle could look to upgrade on the boundary, and you get a physical corner like Will Lee. I think that fits the bill of what Mike McDonald's going to be looking for. Rams at 27, I'm going back. I'm banging the Brendan Sorsby drum. He's been great. And I know Cincinnati did not play great against Utah. I recognize that. But Brendan Sorsby has really been very good this entire season. He wasn't too bad last year. And, if Jackson Dart can go round one, I think Brendan Sorsby can be a back end of the first round type of player as well. Give him a little bit of time to develop behind Matthew Stafford with Sean McVay. You get someone with good size, good overall athleticism, and a live arm. This could be a player that goes round one. I think absolutely could be. Could be more in the Will Levis range too. But I think he's a probable top 100 pick. And at quarterback, sometimes those guys go in the top 32. Get that fifth-year option. At 28, Denver Broncos. This was an interesting one because it maybe isn't the first thing I would look to upgrade if I were the Denver Broncos, but there's a report out about them looking for a field-stretching receiver. They don't really view, Troy Franklin that highly, I don't think, as a result. And Marvin Mims may not be there in the future. Pat Bryant is not really a field stretcher and is only a rookie. And I think you could look to go receiver here. And if you're looking for a field-stretching, playmaking receiver, obviously they have Cortland Sutton too, if I didn't mention him. But if you want a field stretcher, you got some options here. Chris Brazzell is probably like the elite field stretcher because he's playing in the Tennessee offense. It's, hey, Chris, go run down the field. You get, these deep option routes. Go make a play. That's the Tennessee offense to really simplify things. I don't know that he's going to end up being a first-round pick. I'll tell you, watching Casey Concepcion, we knew it if you watched him at NC State, but he transferred into A&M. He's been fantastic this season, and it's not really a surprise because he was a great player last year, and he's continuing to be a great player at Texas A&M for the Aggies this season. I think he could be a first-round pick. He's got juice, and teams covet that. And I think Sean Payton could covet that. Bucks at 29. I think this could also be a receiver. Replacing Mike Evans long-term. Chris Godwin's always hurt, unfortunately. Obviously, I like Emeka Ibuka. You have some other names in there now, Tez Johnson. But Denzel Boston makes a lot of sense to me. But Levante David is not going to play forever. And even outside of Levante David, you don't have much next to him. Linebacker continues to be a need. I think I've mocked a linebacker to the Bucks more times in the first round over the past 2 or 3 years than I have to any other team. Maybe any other position to any other team. Linebacker to the Bucks is maybe my most mocked position to team of the last 2 or 3 years. And I'm going to keep doing it because eventually they will, right? CJ Allen, really good athleticism, really good firing downhill, good size, thumper on the inside, and just feels like finally, maybe for the Bucks, we'll see. Patriots at 30. I'm going Quincy Rhodes. I've had him in the first round a couple times, but he's only 20 years old. The play has kind of fallen off a little bit, but for such a young player with such great measurables, if he declares in a class where we are searching for talent off the edge, like a true 3-down player, Quincy Rhodes could be. Because you have so many of these guys. And I'm not saying they're bad players, but the way the NFL values, sub 250, especially 240-pound edge rushers, these are typically not first-round picks. So it's tough for me to get Romello Height and R. Mason Thomas and Joshua Joseph into the first round. Joseph is a really good player, but he's light. I don't know that this is a first-round player based on how the NFL typically drafts these guys. That's why I think, a guy like Derek Moore or Zion Young, maybe even, obviously, Mateo Uiagalelei. I think these guys have chances to be first-round picks. LT Overton's kind of an interesting one for me right now, but maybe him as well. But, yeah, that gives Quincy Rhodes a pretty good shot. Really young, really good size. His length is incredible. It doesn't take long to find who Quincy Rhodes is when you turn on the Arkansas tape. It's the guy with the ridiculously long arms that covers a ton of ground in seconds. He's a really good player. But development and consistency is what we're searching for from him. Eagles at 31, they've been very active. They traded for, obviously, the slot corner Michael Carter II. They just traded for Jalen Phillips. Boundary corner is still a need. I'm going to go Keith Abney. He's had a really good season for Arizona State. He was a good player last year as well. I think this is your upgrade on the boundary long term. It hasn't been great for Philadelphia. And wrapping things up with the Indianapolis Colts at 32. They really have been about the best team in the National Football League this year. I'm going to go Anthony Hill. I think we had this earlier in the year. Anthony Hill is a fun player. You may have some limitations with what you can get out of him, in coverage or really as a mover, but pretty good athlete, I would say. He's very good as a blitzer, good coming downhill, and I think if a Kenneth Murray can go round one, Anthony Hill has the potential to go round one as well. And maybe he's not quite on the same level as an athlete, but I love the player. He's the heart and soul of the Texas defense. Anthony Hill Jr. is a dog. That is the 2026 first round mock draft today for Mock Draft Monday. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.